It has been hell of a day since I arrived yesterday. I am now currently in Korea in my quarantined apartment as we speak. The whole process went, how should I say, as expected and also unexpected as well. Originally, my plan is to tell you about the place that I used to work this week. However, due to some unforeseen circumstances, I would unfortunately have to talk about that in my next podcast. But let me go ahead and tell you how my trip to Korea has been due to the coronavirus. So I departed San Antonio November 13th. And my plane was at 7:30, but Delta, which was the company that I flew with, told me that, hey, you know what? You should be at the airport 3 hours before your actual flight, which I think I should have taken that with a grain of salt because I was way too early and I sat at the airport for about maybe an hour, 2 hours, just waiting. Since I didn't know how long TSA would take because of COVID and everything, I decided to take the precautionary route and just go ahead and went there 3 hours early. So checking in was fine. I already had my pre-check on the app and I just had to drop off my luggages at the counter. When I packed my luggages, I used the scale that we normally use to weigh my luggages. I didn't have one of those kind of like a hook looking scale where you just loop it through the handle and you pull it up. That way you can just measure the net weight of your luggage. I didn't have one of those, so I had to finesse a little bit and balance my luggage on top of this old-fashioned scale we have. And every single time I get a different number. It was always just a little bit. It was like what is that number in physics? I really forgot what it is. It's the value that you plus and minus. Some sort of a standard deviation? No, it was probably not standard deviation, but my luggage was always like 3 pounds less than 50 pounds or 3 pounds more than 50 pounds. And I kept trying to empty things out of my luggages to make it hit the sweet spot. The thing is, it was already kind of like the most simplified version of everything that I needed. So I couldn't take anything out per se. And I discovered that I was going to bring a backpack with me. And I've always just traveled with 2 big luggages that are going to be checked and then 1 backpack as a carry-on / personal item, right? Because I was so desperate, I was thinking, hey, maybe I could bring a bag because I didn't want to bring another luggage. I couldn't envision myself pulling 3 luggages, just at the airport trying to get to where I need to be. So I remember my mom bought a new duffel bag a few weeks ago. And I was thinking, I think a duffel bag would count as a carry-on because it's so small. So I double checked with Delta because I was paranoid. And they told me, yeah, according to the sizes that you gave us, this should qualify as a carry-on. So I had my backpack with me, which I filled just to the maximum capacity. It looked like a turtle shell on me. And then I also had my duffel bag and then my 2 big luggages. I checked on the website and it says if my luggages were overweight, each of them would cost $100. At that point, I was thinking, dude, I've tried everything I could to minimize my weight, but at this point I just can't anymore. And it was still kind of balancing between a little bit less than 50 pounds or a little bit more than 50 pounds. And I just said, you know what, screw it. Let's just go ahead and take these luggages. So when I checked in at the counter, I was so scared. I didn't even bother looking at the scale. The person who was checking in my bags didn't say anything. So I suppose that whatever the weight was, I think I was either just a little bit more to a point where they kind of accepted it and didn't charge me. So I'm forever thankful for that. After checking in my luggage, I don't know, is it because it was so early? My flight was at 7:30 and I showed up at 3:45, 4, around 3:45 or 4 o'clock, and there weren't anyone there. So the TSA line went by super fast. I thought I had put everything, like I put all my electronics in a big Ziploc bag, and then I put all my liquids in a small Ziploc bag, and I thought I had taken everything out, but I forgot to take out my iPad and my laptop. So I went through the whole thing, and then they had to pat me down, and they're like, do you have any other electronics? I was like, oh my gosh, shoot. At that point, my backpack was already in the belt, and they had to retrieve it and then search my backpack and then scan it again. And after that, my gate was right there. So I just sat there and waited 3 hours. Yeah, I sat there and waited 3 hours. Then I got on my first flight to go to Detroit, which was pretty smooth. It went pretty smoothly. It was a smaller aircraft, but we still had one seat in between the passengers so that we can keep our distances. I don't think they fed us. It was only a 3-hour flight. Luckily, this time I only had one layover, and it was at Detroit. And from Detroit, I was supposed to go straight to Incheon, which is the airport in Korea. When I had booked the flight initially, I thought I had a 1 hour layover. So I was thinking, you know what? I got time. This is great. It's going to work out great. But in reality, I forgot that there was a time difference between Detroit and San Antonio. There was a 1 hour difference. So I thought I had an hour layover, but in reality, I had a 10-minute layover. Immediately right after I land, I was speed walking. I couldn't run because my backpack was too heavy, and then my duffel bag was heavy as well. So I power walk just all the way across the airport to get to my gate on time. And I thought, okay, I got to my gate on time. I think I should be okay. So I was supposed to board at 11:36, and I got to my gate 11:24. So I thought, okay, I have 10 minutes. It's gonna be fine. I take out my passport, blah, blah, blah. And then I realized people were lining up-ish, but not necessarily to board. Rather, they were lining up to get 2 pieces of paper. One was a health declaration form, and then the other one, I don't remember what it was, but we had to fill them out before we could board the plane. I went there, got my paperwork, I filled it in, and then they gave me like a little orange sticker on my passport. And then 15 minutes after that, they made an announcement saying, hey, if you need more time, we can give you more time, but we're gonna start boarding people now. It was like by 10 rolls. It was like 1 to 10, and then 10 to 20, 20 to 30, so on and so forth. So since this one is an international flight, the aircraft was obviously a lot bigger. And instead of having 2 seats between me and another passenger, it was more like, instead of having one seat between me and another passenger, now I have 2 seats. And to be honest, I had the entire row to myself. So my seat was F, which was an aisle seat, and I was supposed to sit all the way at the right. But since there's literally nobody in my row, I decided to sit in the middle and just have my left and right empty. So I have my backpack on one side and then my hat in the other. I don't remember. But it was really empty, and I thought of laying down, but I decided against that. I thought I would look a little ghetto, so I didn't do that at the end. Usually whenever I fly an international flight, I will watch movies, but this time I kind of just slept. And you know what I did? I saved the very last episode of The Office to watch on the plane. I knew it was going to be emotional. I've seen the finale before. It's just that I heard that because The Office is not available in Korea, I wanted to finish it before I leave. And because of that, I have been binging The Office nonstop, like 2-3 days before I left. And I saved the very last one. I downloaded it to watch it on the plane, and I did. And I did get teary, but I forced myself not to cry because, even though I'm nervous, even though I'm sad, this is supposed to be an exciting trip. So I watched it, and luckily I had my mask on, so no one saw that I was getting emotional. But yeah, I watched the finale of The Office on the plane, and I also watched another Netflix series. It's called Dark. I think it is a Netflix original, but made in Germany. Because the entire film and cast is produced with German and in German. But it's a really, really good series. It's about time traveling. It might sound very conventional, but it has a really, really good plot, and I really love it. And I was going to watch it with my significant other when I'm here. The thing is, we watched the first series and second series together, and at the time, the third series, which is the final series, wasn't available yet, but now it is. So I decided to revisit all the old episodes before I land. And I'm almost done with season 1. I couldn't finish it because I was about to land soon, and I always sleep on the flights because that way I could kind of sync my circadian rhythm. Is this circadian rhythm? But the whole reason why I did that is so that I'm not sleepy or I don't oversleep when I'm on the plane, so that I could sync with the current time and not fall back and have jet lag, which is why I've never had jet lag. Despite all the times that I flew to China or to Korea or to Japan, I never jet lagged before. So I'm grateful that my plan worked out this time as well, because I didn't feel jet lagged yesterday when I landed or this morning when I woke up. So yeah, I believe it was a 13-hour or 14-hour flight. And immediately after I landed, we went through several temperature checkpoints. I think because they gave us so many different paperworks, there were various checkpoints that I had to go through. First one, they would check my temperature, and then they sorted me to sit down with an Asian, I think. Because before you land, you're supposed to download an app. And because South Korea is one of the countries that have a mandatory quarantine period. So for 14 days, you were supposed to stay at a hotel or wherever you were residing for 14 days. And one way for them to track you is through this app. And every day, twice a day, you have to self-diagnose to check your temperature and see if you have a fever or any symptoms for COVID-19. They would take us to an agent, and then they sat us down, and we were supposed to fill in all of our information in front of them, and they would confirm on their end, and they were supposed to call someone. That was my backpack. It was so scary. But yeah, the agent sat us down, and then we fill in all of our information, and at the end of the registration, they're supposed to call the number that you provide as your like a contact from Korea. And I filled in my boss's number. So they call my boss, confirming that I've arrived, confirming that I have a place to stay. And then I move on to the next checkpoint where they check to see if I have the appropriate visa to visit Korea or if I'm just like a tourist. So I got my visa paperwork checked, and then I go through immigration. Then I go to my luggage claim, gather all my crap, my 2 giant luggages, and then my duffel bag and my backpack. And then I thought I was done with checkpoints, right? At this point, I push my cart out and I get stopped one more time. So they ask me where I'm going, which city I'm going, and basically they redirected me to a booth based on if I were to, like, are you going to take a taxi? Are you going to take a bus? Do you have your own form of transportation? At this point, I'm kind of tired and also a little bit frustrated because I don't speak Korean. Sometimes when they try to communicate with me, I wish I could understand, or I wish I could communicate with them my situation. But at that point, I was originally going to take the bus because it's a relatively cheaper route, right? But the city that I'm going to, it isn't like how should I say? It's not just one non-stop trip. I would have to transfer different buses. And I thought with everything that I was carrying, you know what? How about you just spend a little bit more to save yourself some hassles? So I decided to go with taxi. And they gave me, I think 3 or up to 5 different levels. Is that the right word? But different class. It went from like the cheap economic one to like the freaking luxury manager car style van thing. And I was like, no, I can just do the cheapest one. Like my luggages aren't that big and it's just gonna be me. So the first one will be fine. So they assigned a driver to me. That person, which was an older gentleman, just kind of took over and led me to his car. But before we go to his taxi, I had to pick up my SIM card. Since I don't have a Korean number and I can't really get a phone plan now because I don't have my alien registration card, I bought a 30-day unlimited SIM card that includes text and talk. I wasn't gonna get the text and talk, but I thought, hey, you never know what might happen. So how about you just spend that extra $20 in case if you need it. So I got the unlimited SIM card and the driver helped me get to the counter and I picked up my SIM card, and then we finally head out to his taxi. So from the Incheon airport to my city, I believe it's approximately 72 kilometers. I don't know how many miles it is because I just remember seeing on his phone that it says it was 72 kilometers. And it took about an hour, a little bit over an hour. Wait, I landed around 6, and then I got to my apartment at 7. And it was also rush hour, so if it weren't for rush hour, maybe it would take even less time than that. So after an hour, he took me to my apartment place and he helped me ring the doorbell and told the person on the intercom that I was a resident of blah, blah, blah room. And I finally got to my room. I thought my trip was over. I thought I could shower, unpack my luggages, have a meal. And at that very moment, I realized I made a giant mistake. A giant mistake. What had happened was I was charging my phone the entire time when I was on the plane because I thought, you never know. You should always keep your phone charged in case if any situation happened. And after I got off from the taxi, I thought, all is well. My job is done. I could pass out. I flipped through my luggage for my travel adapter. And this is an adapter that I've used for all of my previous trips to China, to Korea, to Japan, whatever, you name it. And here I am trying to plug my travel adapter into the walls. So in Korea, the outlets are kind of concaving inward and is a circular plug. My travel adapter was a square plug that had the right prongs, but they weren't long enough. So it wouldn't reach the actual outlet. And I'm over here having a mental breakdown. Wait, I thought all those years it worked. Why not this time? But I think what happened was I had an attachment that goes on the travel adapter, or it was just an extension in general so that I could just plug it into my regular plug just bypassing the freaking square adapter and just plug it into the wall. But this time I didn't have it. So I was super screwed with like less than 50% battery. So at that point, I'm freaking out. I reached out to my significant other and just SOS. Like, I really need a traveler adapter. Could you please help me get one? And I also informed my manager of my situation. And I was like, hey. So I realized my travel adapter doesn't fit the outlet. So I'm just gonna keep my phone silenced, but still on. So I turned the brightness all the way down, freaking on low power mode, just trying to conserve every drop of juice possible in order for me to make it to the next day, because Korea has freaking rocket delivery, which means think of it as same day delivery. Think of it as FedEx. I knew that I have to keep my phone alive until the next day when the adapter comes by and I could just rejuvenate it with electricity, right? And in my backpack, there is actually a mini portable charger. I think it's only 8,000 milliamp. I don't remember how much, but it was like a small one. It won't charge my phone all the way, but I knew that I had an extra boost when I need it. So I was thinking once my phone hits 10%, I will go ahead and charge it with the small battery pack. And I also had my laptop with me. So I was thinking, once I've exhausted that, I could use my laptop to charge my phone as well. So I'm just doing everything to keep my phone supplied. So I walk to my backpack and I check, okay, my portable charger has 3 bars, it's full. So I should be okay with that. And then I reach for my laptop and I flip it open and I see a big old red battery sign. And I was like, oh no, I don't have my laptop as a backup. So at this point, my only backup was my portable charger. And then this morning, when I was unpacking everything, I realized that, hey, I have my iPad with me. I wonder if that's charged. See, I don't use my iPad very often, so sometimes it's charged, sometimes it's not charged because I forget to charge it since I don't use it a lot. And this time I opened it, bam, a whopping 62%. So I thought, okay, worst case scenario, I have KakaoTalk, which is kind of the software that they use to communicate here, the messaging software. I have KakaoTalk on my phone. I have KakaoTalk on my iPad. Worst case scenario, if my phone dies, at least I can use KakaoTalk to communicate with my manager, to communicate with my significant other. So I turned that iPad off, and that became my plan B. Lord and behold, 10% came sooner than I thought. So I plugged in my battery pack, and then it charged it, I think, all the way to 52%, which I was really surprised because I thought I would be lucky to get even 30%. So that was great. My phone is now back to 52%. My iPad is off with 62%. And I'm still waiting. I'm waiting for the travel adapter to arrive so I can charge my laptop. I can charge my phone. I was also a little bit anxious because I thought today was the day that I have to go out and get a COVID test as well. But I can't do that if my phone is dead. I won't be able to use navigation. I won't be able to reach my manager in case if something happens. So I was just constantly checking the door every other hour. Just open the door and it goes beep, beep, beep. And then look outside. Oh, no package for me. I close it. And 1 hour later, I open the door again. Beep, beep, beep. Oh, okay, nothing. So I did that all the way into the afternoon. And many other things got delivered. I got so many food and water delivered. Thank you so much. 감사합니다, 오빠. Last night, I had told my manager about my situation of not being able to charge my stuff. But low-key, I think she forgot because I kind of had to remind her again. I was, just doing it very subtly. I was asking, hi, blank, blank, blank. I was wondering if by the end of tonight, I don't have a charger for my laptop. I wouldn't be able to, access Zoom with my laptop. Is it okay if I do the training? I had training the next day. Is it okay if I do my trainings on my iPad? And then she replied, oh, that's not good. which was true. It wouldn't be a very ideal situation, but that's all I had. And then she said, "Oh, you know what? Let me see if anyone else has an extra that you could borrow." And I was like, "Thank God, thank you so much." And she did. Ended up finding someone to drop off their extra one for me to lend during the quarantine period. Immediately after she dropped it off, I was super happy. I plugged in my device, and my laptop was alive again. Which is also why I couldn't do a podcast yesterday, because I was thinking about doing it yesterday, but my laptop was dead. So I had nothing to power my mic and nothing to record. So I was like, crap, I couldn't even use my phone, because worst case scenario, I could record it on my phone and then just import it on Logic and then just process everything else, right? But I had to conserve my battery on my phone, so I couldn't do that either. But tonight, as soon as my coworker dropped off her extra, what is this, travel adapter, the travel adapter that we ordered also arrived as well. But it's good news. I'll take it. Since we have both, I will be able to return hers once my quarantine period will be over on the 28th. Which brings us back to speed of where I am right now, sitting on a yoga mat in front of a coffee table, recording this very podcast. It's just a quick update of how I'm doing right now, and checking in to make sure Mukti knows that I'm doing all right. Oh, and also my family too. I try to keep in contact with them on WeChat, but since I'm not really jet lagged, I just completely forgotten about the time zone back at home. So I would just keep sending texts as if we're in the same time zone and no one would reply me. And then I realized, oh yeah, it's way up in the morning right now. Like nobody is up right now. That's why no one's replying to you, Julie. But yeah, so far everything has been wonderful. Thanks to my significant other and his parents for sending me so many food and water and drink and banana milk. Oh my God, I crave banana milk every day. And tomorrow is my first day of training. That's gonna last about 2 weeks. And then I would officially begin my job at the end of this month. So I am looking forward to that. Also a little bit nervous, but every beginning is intimidating. But once I get used to the rhythm, I will be okay. I genuinely believe so and hope so as well. My coworker seems to be very welcoming and obviously very helpful. Came in clutch with that travel adapter. And yeah, it's gonna be a new week soon. Actually, it's already a new week back at home. But a new week starts here in Asia and Korea in about 1 day. So wanted to begin the new week with fresh, positive energy. And my apologies if you hear a lot of noises. The apartments here are incredibly quiet. Like I could hear people walking in the hallway and sometimes people taking a shower. But the apartment that was assigned to me is very cute. It has a lot of storage space, a lot of outlets that I can finally use. Yeah, I look forward to staying here for the time being. And without further ado, I will hop offline and get ready for my training tomorrow. I think I have to look over some PDFs, some outlines, and make sure that I have Zoom properly set up so that I won't encounter any more difficulties tomorrow morning when I really need to be at my 100%. And I'll probably try to sleep early today too. Maybe wake up early, cook a nice breakfast, and work out if I really have time. So yeah, thank you for sitting through another monumental podcast. This will be the 10th episode of Lactose Intolerant, and I will see you next week with some old dirt from my previous job.